Greetings and welcome to today's segment of Front Page, where every weekday I summarise and find the most interesting parts of the day's headlines from 5 different newspapers from around the world. My quest is to weed out the facts as they're reported in each newspaper, and I'll do my very best to find the most interesting stories out there. I'm your host, Murad Hamami. Let's get started here with the Daily Sabah. The headline I've gone for is the one with the international tour. Erdogan arrives in the Democratic Republic of Congo on his first stop of a 3-nation African tour. Now, as we know, the Turkish president is working his way around Africa and working on bilateral ties. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan thanked the Democratic Republic of Congo for supporting Turkey's fight against the Gülenist terror group FETÖ. Erdogan was welcomed in an official ceremony in the capital of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Kinshasa, on the first leg of his 4-day Africa tour on Sunday. He was speaking at a joint news conference with his Congolese counterpart. The president said, and I quote, "I would like to thank the Congolese authorities for supporting Turkey's fight against FETÖ. FETÖ and its US-based leader, Fethullah Gülen, orchestrated the failed coup attempt in Turkey, which left, sadly, 251 people dead and nearly 2,200 injured. FETÖ also has a presence in Africa, where it runs schools which serve as cash cows for the terror group. Now, Turkey has replaced the administration of those such schools. We put together a small package for you. Take a look at this. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is taking a 4-day tour to 3 African countries upon the invitation of his counterparts. President Erdogan's visit between the 20th and 23rd of February includes the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Senegal and Guinea-Bissau. The visit will focus on all aspects of bilateral relations and opportunities for improving cooperation between Turkey and these countries in all fields.
Türkiye-Afrika Ortaklık Zirvesi'nde kabul ettiğimiz bildiri, eylem planı ve ortak uygulama raporuyla 2022-2026 döneminde Afrika ile ilişkilerimiz bakımından bir yol haritası belirledik. Afrika ülkeleriyle ilişkilerimizi bu çerçevede samimiyet, kardeşlik ve dayanışma temelinde geliştirmeye devam edeceğiz.
Ties between Turkey and Africa have gained new momentum thanks to the country's policy of strategic Africa. As of last year, Turkish companies had undertaken more than 1,150 projects across the continent, with a total value exceeding nearly $70 billion. During his visit to Senegal's capital, Dakar, Erdogan will attend the opening ceremony of the Dakar Olympic Stadium, built by a Turkish company. He will also open the new embassy building in the capital. Erdogan's visit to Guinea-Bissau will mark the first presidential-level official visit from Turkey to the West African country. Right, our next story that I have for you today is from the United Kingdom. Let's take a look at what The Guardian has to say today. They've gone with a massive one. Revealed Credit Suisse leak unmasks criminals, fraudsters and corrupt politicians. Now, let me give you some bullet points about what this is. It's about a massive leak that reveals secret owners of £80 billion held in Swiss banks. Whistleblower leaked banks' data to explore or to expose immoral secrecy laws. Clients included human traffickers and billionaires, and a billionaire apparently ordered his girlfriend's murder. Also talks about a Vatican-owned account used to spend 350 million euros in allegedly fraudulent investment. Plus, the scandal hit Credit Suisse rejects allegations it may be a rogue bank. Now, a massive leak from one of the world's biggest private banks, Credit Suisse, has exposed the hidden wealth of clients involved in torture, drug trafficking, money laundering, corruption, and other serious crimes. Details of the accounts linked to 30,000 Credit Suisse clients all over the world are contained in the leak, which unmasks the beneficiaries of more than 100 billion Swiss francs, which is about 80 billion pounds. Now, held in one of the Switzerland's best-known financial institutions. Now, the leak actually points to widespread failures of due diligence by the Credit Suisse, despite repeated pledges over decades to weed out dubious clients and illicit funds. Now, The Guardian is part of a consortium of media outlets. Given exclusive access to the data, The Guardian revealed how Credit Suisse repeatedly either opened or maintained bank accounts for a panoramic array of high-risk clients across the world. They include a human trafficker in the Philippines, a Hong Kong stock exchange boss jailed for bribery, a billionaire who ordered the murder of his Lebanese pop star girlfriend, and executives who looted Venezuela's state oil company, as well as corrupt politicians from Egypt to Ukraine. One Vatican-owned account in the data was used to spend 350 million euros in an allegedly fraudulent investment in London property that is at the center of an ongoing criminal trial of several defendants, including a cardinal. Now, this huge trove of banking data was leaked by an anonymous whistleblower to the German newspaper Süddeutsche Zeitung. Okay, so that is a huge story. I'm sure we're going to hear a lot of news about this throughout the day and throughout the week, but it was reported here in The Guardian this very day. Okay, let's move on now to our next newspaper. Now, Iran foreign minister says the US is to blame if Vienna talks fail. Of course, this is about the JCPOA. The JCPOA is, as we know, an agreement that started back in 2015. The Iranian foreign minister said the responsibility for a possible failure of these Vienna talks on the restoration of the 2015 nuclear deal rests solely with the West. To give you a little bit of information, 2015, the JCPOA was formed. Basically, it was Iran was developing nuclear energy or nuclear armaments, but the West said that Iran was not complying to what the agreement was. Now, these agreements were originally set up with President Obama, and then former President Donald Trump backed out of the deal in 2015, saying that they weren't happy with the original way the JCPOA was set up. Now, as soon as this happened, Iran was absolutely covered with sanctions. The minute it was covered with sanctions, it retreated, and the 2015 JCPOA deal fell through. Now, the United States is in particular, so this is quite a big deal, and the two sides, Iran and the United States, as well as some UK companies, some British countries even, not even companies, have been in Vienna trying to work this out. Now, we are joined by our regional analyst, Mr. Javed Rana, and he's going to give us a bit more information about what's going on with this deal. Javed, thanks for joining us here on Front Page. Now, this was a headline in Iran Daily. Now, they went with a pro approach on it. Of course, it's an Iranian newspaper, but they talk about if this deal falls through, it's not our fault, it's the West's fault. What do you make of it?
Well, I think what we are hearing from the other international newspapers, particularly Israeli Prime Minister has been quoted that the deal has been nearly finalized. It has been shortened in size in terms of text, and according to the claim made by the Israeli Prime Minister, the deal this time around is weaker than that of the 2015. And then we have also heard the Qatar's foreign minister saying that the deal is going to happen in a matter of 2 weeks. So, and similarly, I think there was a call by the French president to the Iranian counterpart indicating that perhaps some final minute details are being finalized. So all that indicates that the deal is going to be revived. Now, what would be the shape and the contents of that deal, that is anybody's question. But again, there are claims and counterclaims. But going by what Israeli Prime Minister want everybody to believe, that this is going to be a weaker deal. We don't know independently how far that is true, because Israel obviously has a clear agenda against the government of Iran. But it seems that perhaps that the deadline of 2025, which was a sunset date, I mean, this was the deadline set in previous deal. And after this deadline, Iran could have made certain missiles based technology. And then there were apprehensions that after sunset clause, Iran would be able to make nuclear bomb. These were apprehensions expressed by Israel over the course of last many years. Now that sunset clause has been probably extended to 2030. I mean, these are just based on some leaks. What are going to be the real contents of that deals? This is not yet known. But here is a bigger question, and that is that Israel is making a lot of hue and cry about the revival of this nuclear deal. One wonders that Israel is the only country in the Middle East which is possessing the nuclear weapons. It is known to everybody, but it doesn't want anybody else to possess those nuclear weapons. This is a questionable, and I think that would be part of the problem in years to come in terms of Israel's relation with Israel and other Arab countries.
Indeed, Javed, indeed. It does seem like these agreements or these conversations or these talks are going to keep going on for a long time. Let's hope that they do come to... what worries me is the sanctions that are on Iran, just to wrap up quickly, include medicine and things like that. So that's quite worrying. Anyway, Javed Rana, thanks for joining me. I know you're a busy man. I really appreciate your time, sir. Take care. We'll speak again soon, no doubt. There you go. Javed Rana in Islamabad, talking to us about the Iranian and or the JCPOA deal that we were talking about before. Okay, up next, we've got a couple more newspapers to get through. Let's jump to our next one. It's China Daily. What else could they be talking about? Of course, they're talking about the Olympics, and they went with the headline, Beijing 2022 closes with great fanfare. So it is, of course, without a doubt, they've just closed on Sunday. Spectacular closing ceremony for the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympic Games. Beijing's the world's first dual Olympic city, bid a bittersweet goodbye and provided countless unforgettable memories for athletes and fans from around the world. The ceremony started with a program lighting the emblem of the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics with snowflake lanterns held by children, and followed by several red ribbon flying in the national stadium, covering the giant snowflake at the center and eventually turning it into a Chinese knot. The 18-minute closing ceremony was based on the colors red and blue, the first being a traditional Chinese color and the second symbolizing snow, or ice and snow, should I say. In addition to Chinese traditional cultural elements, including the Chinese knot, lanterns, and 12 Chinese zodiac signs and innovations, all ensured that the success of the closing ceremony. The Winter Olympics are over. Just to tell you that Norway won the most gold. Okay, let's move on to our last but not least newspaper today. That is the Financial Times. I always like the Financial Times. Of course, we're going to be talking about what's going on between Russia and Ukraine. The Financial Times has gone with a heading going, Belarus says Russian troops will stay as West seeks Ukraine talks. This is, of course, an ongoing situation. As the world waits to see how the Russian threat to Ukraine plays out, the three Baltic states are focused on what Moscow is up to in neighboring Belarus and what it means for their security. About 30,000 Russian troops have been on the ground in Belarus this month, ostensibly for a military exercise. On Sunday, Minsk announced that they will remain indefinitely when the maneuvers end, leaving Russian troops on their doorstep. Now, while an imminent attack on the Baltics seems unlikely, the three countries worry about Russia's ability to cut them off from the rest of Europe via the Suwalki Gap, which is a narrow gap, 65 kilometers, between Poland or Polish-Lithuania border. It's seen as one of NATO's most vulnerable points. To the west lies the heavily weaponized Russian exclave of Kaliningrad. To the east is Belarus. Now, illegally annexed by Moscow after the Second World War, the Baltic states are the only ex-Soviet countries to have joined the EU and NATO, providing an example to the likes of Ukraine and the provocation to Russia through their fierce defense of freedom. Kusti Salim, a permanent secretary at Estonia's Ministry of Defense, said that the war games in Belarus meant Russia had 10 times the number of forces in the region than NATO has on its eastern flank in the Baltics and in Poland. Now, he said Russia's show of military strength and readiness was a dramatic change that has not happened in decades. Now, if the situation remained, he said there needs to be a dramatic change in force posture in NATO too. NATO allies have been rushing to reassure the Baltic. The UK, Germany, Norway and Denmark have all sent extra troops to the region this month as part of the 3 multinational battle groups of about 1,000 each in Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. The US has a battalion in rotation in Lithuania and has sent reinforcements to its base in Poland, but the Baltics would like more. Okay, so that's the latest update there for you on what's going on between Russia and Ukraine. That is about it for me today. It rounds it up. We've talked about what the US is reporting on internationally, what's going on. We know what's going on in the UK, Switzerland, and here in Turkey. That wraps up today's headlines. Be sure to tune in tomorrow at the same time. Well, I'll be here trying to give you a synopsis of the front pages of the top news stories around the world. I'm your host, Murad Hamami.